Ciao everybody. For those of you that are new here, my name is Joey Balistreri. That is a very long Italian last name. Welcome to my channel. Today I am going to make a bunch of earrings. This is going to be a making session and I hope it's going to be fun and kind of using leftover beads and beads that I've bought leftover from boxes in the past month. And so I hope you get some inspiration or some ideas. And what I have here is a big handful of mermaid glass. Is this not the most beautiful glass you have ever seen? I just love it. I took the beads for the earrings and I just couldn't put these away. I wanted to show them to you because I had a little trouble deciding my colors because I kind of have a stash of mermaid glass. So that is what I have taken beads from for the first earring. And it looks like this. I've done samples of most of my earrings, I think. It looks like this, and it is a tiny bit of wire working. I happen to have these really gorgeous tiara cast post earring findings, but you can put any finding you want on here. And I did mine with 4 beads going down because, as you saw, I just have so many beautiful colors of mermaid glass and I couldn't decide on just 3. And then I have this 6mm size, but I also have 8mm size, so I made a little dangle out of that. And these are I don't think they're minimalist, but I really love stick earrings and like downward dangly earrings. So they're really dangly, they're articulated here and here, and it's really simple wire working. And so if you're insecure about your wire working, honestly, I hope you'll stick with me for all of today's projects because it's really, really basic, and I'm going to go really slow, which is my advice with wire working. Anyway, you yield a better result. And for this one, I'm using a piece of 20 gauge wire, and my soft flex wire just works really great for this kind of thing. And I have the same exact beads here in my little dish that I used on this earring, and I'm going to keep them in the same order. I didn't measure my wire, which I know drives some of you crazy that I don't measure very much. I eyeballed it because, you know, I want enough for this length basically, and I have to go up and then back down, so double that length. And you want a little bit left over because we have to wrap a loop. So I am going to start, like, if you notice me warming this wire, I'm not so worried about it being straight because it's going to have a lot of curves in it when I'm finished. But I am warming it, and I'm going to take my round nose pliers. I have 2 pairs of round nose pliers here. Let me see which one I used. Yeah, I used this one. My other ones are a little bit bigger. And I'm going to come right to about the middle of this, maybe not quite the middle, because the wire that's going to go upward, which can be this wire here, you need a tiny bit more than you do for the other end. I'm just using gonna have that mandrel to make a really nice loop. When I take it away, that matches the loop at the base of my other plier. And then I'm gonna ignore this longer side and come to this shorter side, and right here where the 2 wires intersect, I'm going to get a hold of this and just bend it straight up, just like that. So it looks like that, and I'm going to get this nice and straight. I really rely heavily on my nylon jaw pliers when I am doing anything with wire, really. I just want to get this nice and straight. You know, what I find is going slowly with wire is really useful, and also before you jump to the next step in your piece, make sure the step that you're on is done well and things are straight or not straight depending on how you want them. And now I'm going to copy this stack of beads here, starting with my purple one, which is the first one that I put on. And let me look at my earring here so that I can do it. I would advise, if you're making earrings, that it's always better to do them at the same time. I did my samples yesterday, so I'm going to do my best to make everything match, but I just so quickly forget I so quickly forget what I have done because I don't really repeat my designs. I don't sit and make, 50 of anything, so I'm going to do my best. And this one, I am going in the opposite direction. If you can see, this wire is going to go on top and up that way, and this one is going in the opposite direction, which is the way that I prefer to make my earrings. Where possible, I will do that mirror image, but you don't have to do that. It's not wrong to make them exactly alike, to do both in the same direction, but I do like the way this is starting out. So you're going to use your thumb and forefinger to kind of hold your bead in place here, and it's really helpful if this is warm, and you just kind of direction it, and you can see where we're going with this, right? We're going to hold this bead in place and bring this wire up the side of the bead, and on the front of the core wire, get it on the front, and then I'm going to wrap it around to the back and come back around to the front, and now you can see we're on the left side. We went up the right side, now we're on the left side. And now my next bead is the turquoise one, so that's going to go on. And I just thought this was so pretty for summer because of the mermaid glass. And now we're going to do the same thing. We're going to hold everything between our thumb and forefinger and just warm the wire and start getting it to go in the direction you want. Take a look at what you're doing so that everything is straight. And I'm going to come on top, coming up the side of my mermaid glass on top, and reposition if you don't have the strength. I have a little punctured myself with some wire right there, so I don't have strength in that finger today. And I'm just going to do the same thing. I'm going to get a wrap in, go behind and come back around to the front. And if you get things, misaligned a little bit, that's what nylon jaw pliers are for. So you can straighten it up, but I do tend to kind of fuss with it as I go so that before I go to the next level. But we're looking like that. And my next bead was the hot pink one. I'll slide that on and do the same thing. I'm going to come up the side, warm and smooth, and bring that wire up the side of that bead. And now I'm going to wrap behind and come back around to the front. And like, if you're not happy, I'm actually quite happy. I really like seeing the wire, but if you wanted it to be more that way, you can use your nylon jaw pliers to pull it. And when I'm all done with my stack, I always tend to do some little adjustments, but I'm actually really happy with the way it looks. And last bead. Okay, and then on this one, I did once I reached the top, I did 3 wraps. So I'm going to do that again. There's 1, there's 2, there's 3. And this is the front of my earring, so I'm going to go ahead and bring that around so that I can trim it off in the back. Come right there and snip. That is perfect for a component, that little scrap. And now I want to tuck this really well and straighten out. Now I like to do really neat, I like my wraps to be a perfect coil, like one laying right beneath the other. So if I didn't get that, this is the time to tidy that up. It looks pretty good actually. But that's my little earring, and now I want to make a simple loop at the top that will connect to my ear wire. But since this is the front of my earring, I want to do it so that my simple loop is in the back, opens in the back, so that the front of my earring will look seamless. So I'll show you my sample. When you look at this, that's just seamless. It actually looks like a wrapped loop, even though it's a simple loop. So what I'm going to do, This is the front. I'm going to turn it over to the back. And to make my wrapped loop, my simple loop, sorry guys, I'm going to get this at the top here and bend it this way. So I'm actually looking at the back side of my earring. And I'm doing a perpendicular to my mat bend because of the orientation of my ear wire. The loop is parallel to my mat. So now I'm going to come in with my round nose pliers. And since I did this yesterday, let me just take a little measurement. Yep, I remember what I did. So now I'm going to come in with my round nose pliers right about there, get everything kind of lined up, and I'm going to bend it over and just bring it around. Get that loop lined up just right, just like that. I'm going to come right here where the two wires meet and snip. And now I can open this and attach it to my earring post earring. So open it. I have a terrible habit of not opening my loops wide enough. If you guys notice, I do that a lot. I guess I try not to be too aggressive, especially with wire working. So that loop is closed perfectly, and with a little force, I'm going to open and close my pliers, and that looks really professional and really like fine jewelry. I have a less used pair of nylon jaw pliers that I will sometimes use for if I want to really straighten something out, but that really looks fabulous. And now I only did a simple loop on the final little drop with a ball head pin. So that's super simple. Okay, and same thing here on this simple loop. Since I know the front and back of my earring, I'm going to connect this final drop so that the opening of the simple loop is going toward the back of the earring. They are dangly and they'll dangle around, and but also if you close your simple loops really well so that they're touching, you almost can't tell. Nobody can tell where that loop starts and stops. So my first pair of earrings is done, and aren't they gorgeous? That's so pretty for summer when it's so hot and you really don't want to wear anything. Just a really pretty dangly pair of earrings. You can wear that without being hot, and just a tank top, and you look polished and pulled together. So I really love those. Okay, the next pair is some leftovers from my Dee Dee's Deluxe, not my collaboration box with Dee Dee's. And I did put some leather in my necklaces for that. And I made a pair of earrings after I did the video, but then I decided to do another pair, and aren't these gorgeous? They're very lightweight. They almost weigh nothing, and they're just really chic and elegant. So I have this glue-in leather cord, and I cut my 1mm. This is a metallic, lavender leather. I cut this at the same time, of course, so that they will be the same, be the same length. And then I like to use my Loctite super glue. It's gel control. So I'll go ahead and do that first. We'll go ahead and get this in here so it can be drying. And I'm just going to get a little bead flowing and get this filled up, this opening. I don't want glue to be oozing out. So when you do this, it's a really good idea to have a little piece of wire or toothpick or something so that you can clean up as you go. But I also don't want my earring to come out. So before I put this in, I want to look at my orientation, which my loop on this finding is parallel to my mat. So I'm going to make a little teardrop shape or loop shape, and what I love about the gel super glue is that you have time. Like, it is still not dry. I have time without rushing to kind of situate myself, and also it doesn't run all over everything like the more liquid did. So I'm just going to get this in here, push it inside my finding, and just adjust it. Make sure that that loop is parallel to the loop at the top, because once it sets you will not be able to adjust anything. And I'm going to just take a little scrap of wire that I have on the side and clean up my mess. Okay, that looks great. And pretty much the rest of this is a simple loop and simple connecting. So I just took a ball head pin and one of my beads from our collaboration box, and this really pretty little bead cap that looks like a tiny flower just sitting on the top, just one bead cap. And I have a gold seed bead just to top it off. So it's a really simple little bead stack. And I'm going to put a simple loop in this just the way that I did on the last earring. We'll work hard on all my loops. So I have that little drop made, and now I'm going to just open up this really fancy jump ring. I'm using these jump rings in, let's see, several pairs of the earrings I'm going to make. So I'm going to show you guys. I always link 2 different versions of this jump ring in my oops, wrong thing, talking. I'm going to add my chain to this, but I'm going to pull these out and I'll show you what they are. So if you want to purchase some fancy jump rings for your work, I'll show you the 2 options that you see me using all the time if you like the way that these look. I'm just going to add this jump ring to my leather. Don't pull on anything because it's still not dry. And I'm going to open this again. I actually forgot that I hadn't attached this with a jump ring. That's what happens to me when I make my samples a day or 2 ahead, is I forget what I did. And as I'm working, I have to tell you guys, I am reminded of our friend Sharon Rowland. If you guys are comment readers, you might be following this thread in the comments, but she's a doll. She's so cute. Several months back, I don't actually remember when, she messaged me that she was starting to make earrings. And she keeps messaging me with updates, and she's up to like 200 and something pairs now. I've actually lost count, and it's starting to be a little bit of a joke because she says, I love making earrings. I can't stop making earrings. I'm making more earrings. And I've been teasing her, do I need to do earring making intervention with this addiction? But it is really fun. And if you're blocked, like, making earrings is such a great, easy way to just sit and play with your beads and components. So I'm just adding this to the ear wire. But anyway, whenever I make earrings now, I cannot help but think of Sharon. And I wonder if she's getting inspiration, although from what I can tell, she doesn't really need any. She's doing great on her own. But look at that. Isn't that so pretty? So easy. I mean, it's so easy and it's so stunning. It's very chic, boutique. And, you know, I mean, I don't know if I would call that edgy, but there's something about the bead, the chain, the leather. There's just something about it that's, you know, really gorgeous. So another pair done. Okay, before I move on, I'll go ahead and pull this in and show you these jump rings that you're seeing in this pair of earrings and here. These are gold filled diamond cut jump rings. I always link these in my description box where it says current favorite findings. I have replenished this. I don't even know how many times I've reordered, and I just got another order and filled up my little box. There are 3 different sizes in here, and they're really heavy duty. They make a great chain if you need to link them together, if you need to use like the larger size as a closure for your lobster claw clasp. They close, if you close them right, they look like a solid ring. They're very thick, and the diamond cutting just obscures where it opens. So it is one of my very favorite findings that I have ever found, and surprisingly, they're not that expensive, and the gold doesn't tarnish, or, you know, at least it's not solid gold, so it won't last forever. But then I found these, because there are times when I'm doing things that's not quite fine jewelry or the look of fine jewelry, and I found these stainless steel ones that look pretty much the same, but they're stainless steel and they are plated, and they are so cool. They come in silver and gold, and there are 4 sizes in this one, and they're even a little bit more heavy duty. So you have, like, I think this is 5 or 6 millimeter, and they go all the way up to like whatever that is, 14 millimeter, 16 millimeter. So if you need, like, it almost acts as a solid ring, this larger size, and the quantity on this was huge. So when you see me using, whoops, some are escaping. When you see me using these diamond cut, like fancy jump rings, it is either my gold filled ones or my gold and silver plated ones. But I just love these. I make a lot of my own jump rings, but I just love these, and they are just invaluable. If you don't have a really pretty chain, like if you need a little section of chain for a project and you don't have a really pretty chain, if you have those jump rings, you can very easily make your chain. So this is like super simple, and these are having a moment with me. Don't like to say that I'm obsessed with anything, but I probably have to confess I'm a little bit obsessed with these glass rings. I've been collecting these for a long time. I've made a special organizing bin, and whenever I see them on any website or any bead shopping trip, I grab these rings, and I have quite a little collection. And these are, I think these are African. I've gotten them from all different sources, but I think these are African beads, and I think this is Czech glass. I have a lot of sources for them, but I get them from Lima Beads. I get them from Pretty Funky Beads is the website. I just got an order from them, wherever I can find them. But look how simple this earring is, but how stunning. The beautiful colors, the geometry of the gold diamond cut rings, the glass rings, and then falling down into a flower that's center drilled, and everything moves, like the flower moves. And I love these ear wires. These are always linked also in my current favorite findings, because it's a whole collection. So there are these that are a little bit more sleek. They have this really cool profile in that collection, and there are these, and there's a couple others as well. And I just think they're so pretty, and it's such a cool, very, like, you guys are going to say, why is she even showing me this? Because it's too simple. There's nothing to learn here. But I am using 4 of my jump rings. One of the larger ones is what is needed to go through my flower, so we'll build it from the bottom up. And in connecting, that's pretty much all it is choosing the space you need. These yellow ones, these rings are really imperfect. These are African ones that are all handmade, so no 2 are really alike. I went through my order and picked out 2 that were pretty close to being alike, and so I just had to get that size of a jump ring for fitting through the ring and not having anything rubbing against each other, like the flower against the ring. And I just want to close this really well, and then, you know, I can see these are so, the gauge and the toughness of these is they bounce back sometimes. You think you've closed it and it bounces back. Okay, I got it that time. So it's just, you know, I just am looking at my spacing so that can hang. And then I used 2 of the 6 millimeter, I think that is, and that worked okay to connect the rings. But then at the top, I had to get a really small one, again, just for my orientation. As I said, I have a habit of not opening my jump rings wide enough. I don't know why, as if I don't know how to close it. And then I'm going to pop my other glass ring. And you know, like with rings, you can just keep going, but I didn't want these to be too long. I really didn't want shoulder dusters because my mermaid glass ones ended up being a little bit longer than I normally even wear. But it looks like that. And then I'm going to come to, again, my middle size ring here. I love these when they're closed because it looks like a solid gold ring. But they can be tough to find where you even open it because the diamond cutting just makes it, they look amazing. There it is. Okay, so get that over my last ring. And then when you're making earrings, you know, your orientation is really important when you're making, well, really in any jewelry, but especially in earrings. Let me get this closed and I'll show you, because your orientation matters. Like if I want my rings to be facing forward on my ears, then I need my connecting rings to be going perpendicular and these being horizontal to my mat. But then my ear wire, the loop is perpendicular to my mat. So if I connect this just like that, then what I'm going to be looking at is the side of my rings, and I don't want that. So jump rings are, you know, really effective. They add a lot of dangle and movement in all jewelry, but also, you know, you can, especially just a little tiny small one like this, you can totally change the direction of the way something is hanging. So I'm going to just put that there and then through here, and then you'll see. And there's really no front or back to this until you connect the ear wire. But look at that. I think this is one of my favorite pairs, and it's just so simple. It is literally connecting rings. But look how effective that is. And so if you have any center drilled flower or even another bead for the bottom drop, but I had those little green African flowers and they're spacers, but I love them. Okay, I am so excited about this pair. I am so excited because, as you know, I'm like a little bit into rings right now, and I found these are handmade glass rings, and I started to do like a seed bead loop, but I didn't want to cover up the ring because I just think that is amazing. And I did a really simple stack, and my earring here becomes my ear wire. And I did have to go down to 22 gauge wire for this one because I needed 2 wires to go up through my rings. So I love these beads. These were left over from one of my boxes. I think these came from the Dollar Bead Club. This is Purity Beads, which is solid brass. It's this brushed kind of spaceship looking spacer. It's really contemporary looking, and it's anti-tarnish, and I just loved it. So I'm taking just a piece of 22 gauge wire, and I'm going to get it nice and smooth and warm, and I'm just going to put my ring on that wire and just let my ring be the final drop. And I didn't make it super tight, can you see? Because I wanted my ring, of course, not to be damaged, but to move as well. And I'm just gonna come in here with my pliers and pull this together, but I'm not getting down really close. You see, I want my ring to move. So that's what I'm looking at. And then I put both of the wires through this glass daisy spacer. And just bring it down. I must have a kink in my wire. I'm going to look at my other earring. See, I have this one pulled down just a little bit more. These, and this one might not have the exact same size hole as the first one. They are handmade, so there's a little bit of variation in all these flowers. I might have to get, let me see, I might have to get a different one. Draw these together a little bit. that looks really good. And then I have, you know, there's a large enough hole in my spacer bead to slip through. These are like really contemporary. It's so fun. I see why Sharon loves to sit and design earrings. And then this bead, I just love these. I love the color. I love how opaque and how smooth it is. It looks like candy. But obviously with that hole, I'm not going to get 2 wires through there. So what I did is took one of my wires. I'll take my shorter one, and I just did 2 wraps, like literally 2 wraps, just to secure. So again, I'm going to hold everything with my thumb and forefinger and just get like a little bend in there and just come around and just do 2 wraps. 1, 2. And there will be a front and a back to this, so I'm doing the same thing where I bring that around to the back, and I'm going to come right here and snip. And like I said, here's where, before I go on to the next step, I want to tuck any cut ins. And if I wanted to tighten up my coils, which I do sometimes, but that looks pretty good. And I'm going to straighten. See, I have a little bend in my wire. When I'm making jewelry, whether it's beading or anything, I try not to get in a rush. I try to be calm and relaxed and enjoy the creative time. It's one of the best therapies in the world, better than any medicine I've ever taken for stress or anxiety. And so with wire working, it's even more important, because if you don't do fast movements, that way you don't get unwanted kinks and things in your wire. So I'm thrilled with that. And it's really important for what I'm going to do that this be nice and straight and nice and centered, because this is going to become my ear wire. It's an all-in-one earring. So I'm going to put my bead on this wire and let it drop down to where my wraps are. And let me check again to see how I'm looking. It's pretty good. I'm going to give this a little push, let the bead give me some leverage, just to tighten up my coil a tiny bit right there. Okay, that looks great. And now for an all-in-one ear wire, as I said, really important to make sure that you are on what you designate to be the front of your earring. And I'm going to come right to the top of the bead, just a teeny bit above the top of the bead with my plier, and I'm going to bend this wire toward me at about a 45-degree angle. And I just always check, because the purpose of that bend is to keep that bead from coming off, and I got it just right. And then let's see, I do not remember which, I think I used my 6-step bail making plier. I have several bail making pliers. Let me see which one I used. Not that one. Did I use that one? I think that's the one that I used. Okay, let's go with that one. Okay, so once again, I have bent this wire toward me at about a 45-degree angle, and you can always make some adjustments after it's done, but it's best to go slow and get it right to begin with. So I'm going to place that wire, whoops, wrong way. I want to be wrapping around the second to the largest step. I'm going to be wrapping that way. So now before I wrap, I just want to look and make sure that everything is straight, which it is. And now I'm just going to wrap that wire around that mandrel and come all the way around to the back. And when I take it away, I have my ear wire. And it looks like I did get my bend a little bit dramatic, so that's okay. I'm doing these with 22 gauge wire because I pretty much had to. I usually use 20, but I've also done them with 18. So my bead is still secure, and let me check. This is what happens when you don't do them together. But that looks great. Okay, and I'm just going to match these up and trim them at the same spot as close as I can get it. Okay, and if you needed any adjustment, mine looks pretty good. Check this one. It looks pretty good. And now, honestly, you could, leave that if you like a really contemporary, really like straight looking ear wire. In the marketplace, you see ear wires in every kind of form and shape. But I'm going to just come to the end here, just line that up with my flat nose plier and just kick that out a little bit. So to me, that just is a really lovely ear wire. And then the last step when you're doing an all-in-one ear wire is to take away any sharpness on that cut end. So you can use like a metal nail file. You can use, if you have a buffing block, like this vintage one that's made to take paint to create a patina on metal. I always, in my favorite tools, I have this little set of files and reamers. They're just handheld. It's kind of like a diamond nail file. That's kind of the finish that's on it, and it's really inexpensive. I use the reamers all the time, but you can use the file for that. But many of you who are returning know that my favorite one is my battery operated reamer. You just press the button. Now, I don't have the reamer attachment. This just pulls off. I have the wire rounder attachment. I don't know if you can see. It's a little cup. And so all you do is fit your wire in that little cup and press the button. And it's a really professional, it's smooth, it's so smooth. Like that's gonna make that so comfortable going in and out of a piercing. And it's a very professional finish. A little bit right there. I was saying these are my favorites, but I don't know, I am crazy about this earring. And these are so comfortable and so easy to take in and out. This is an everyday earring for me. And almost no matter what I'm wearing, yoga clothes, any t-shirt, any Lily Pulitzer top, this is just fabulous. In fact, I have a pink, green, and blue Lily Pulitzer top that I love, and I think they're going to be just absolutely perfect for that. Okay, next pair. Look at this, you guys. Like I said, I'm having a little bit of obsession with rings, but I also love these check glass beads. These are, I just love these. I love playing with these. It's a kind of a flower bead. It's half of a cone-shaped bead. And when you play with these, like this is what I did with this one, but when you play with these, you can get completely different shapes. Like I'll just show you. If you put them like this, I happen to have a little disc spacer here, you get this shape, which, whoops, show you, it's like kind of like an hourglass. But obviously you can see that I did it the other way. But you can put your ball, like, I don't know, there's something about this bead that I just love. I have a few favorite beads on the planet, and this is one of them. So I decided to just feature it. So just a ball head pin and a little disc spacer, and then another bead facing that way. And I think that I might have used my 3mm one-step looper, but again, my African glass rings are very irregular, so I think I'm going to do better to just make a fairly large loop with my pliers, a simple loop. So I'm just going to put a bend in the wire like we have been, and let me see. I'm going to come down pretty far on my round nose pliers and get a simple loop in there, and doing them by hand gives you a little adjustability. So I just do my handmade simple loops. I start them the way I would do a wrapped loop, rotate my plier out of the way and bring my wire around, and then like center everything. You can roll your wrist, and so from here you can adjust the size of your loop. And let me see, I want to try to match what I did. So it's quite a bit bigger than my other earring. Like I said, I did these day before yesterday, so I've already forgotten what I did. But doing them by hand, I can roll this down and make it a little bit smaller. And so I'm going to come right here and snip. And I'll show you if I didn't get it right. I'll show you if you need to make a loop smaller, you can continue to do that. You can cut on the inside and then, you know, re-roll it. I'm gonna get a little bit more of a bend here. I'm gonna fiddle with this one a little bit. Open it and put my ring in. Yes, these rings are irregular. They're so beautiful. They have a real handmade quality to them, and I love that. Organic, but like one side is thicker. It's hard to determine your size loop with beads like this. But so this one's going to be a little bit different than the other one. I'm going to move it to the thinner side to close the loop, and then we'll see how it dangles from here. Get my loop closed really well so I don't see it. Work hard. And, oh yeah, it's perfect. Look at that, and it matches the other one really well. Beautiful. And same thing, you guys. I'm going to determine the front of my earring, so my opening of my loop is going to be on the back. And then I used, these head pins are also from Purity Beads, so they're solid brass, gold plated, and e-coated, so they won't tarnish. And that is what I used to make this really cool ear wire. So I'm going to start by bending my what did I do? I don't remember what I did now. It's terrible. I really need to like make them all at once. I think I used this step. Okay, so let me use this second to the largest step. I tend to use that one a lot. And I'm just gonna wrap it around. Just the ball is right there, and I'm just gonna wrap it around so that it meets. And I think that's what I did. And then I'm going to take my pliers and bend my ball part up just a little bit, and so that it's touching. I'm going to just fiddle with this a little bit using this mandrel to get it to match my other earring. And like I said, there's not really a right or wrong when you're doing artisan ear wires. If you look out in the marketplace, if you look at wire workers, they come up with all kinds of shapes for ear wires. It's really fun. I think we get in the habit as jewelry makers of grabbing those in you know, industry made ones, but we don't really have to. So you can always put your wire or your head pin, you can always put it back on the mandrel if you need to do a little bit more shaping. That looks really good. I'm going to do the same thing. I think sometimes I'll use my flat nose plier and I'll come here and just do, not the full length, I'll just do about half and kick that out a little bit. And you can hand sculpt these. This is such a nice quality head pin. And then I'm just going to open it sideways like we do an ear wire or a jump ring, slip my ring on, and close that just so that my ball is touching. And I have another pair of earrings. Like I said, these would be my reach for everyday earrings. These are just so lovely, and like they're simple, but there's geometry there. They're not too heavy, and I love these colors. Just so beautiful. I love these. Okay, look at this, you guys. It's just delightful. Okay, last pair of earrings. Isn't that sad? That's all there is in my dish. I think these beads were left over from my Potomac treasure box, and I have two links. I did not do a sample on this one because, as I said, one of my problems is I really need to make earrings. I do a better job if I do them at the same time because I just so quickly forget what I did. And so I have two pieces of 20 gauge wire here that are cut to pretty much exactly the same length. That helps you sometimes to get your earrings alike. And for this, I need a circle. I want to make a really good circle here. So I have this, which could work. Pretty much any mandrel. I have this one, but that's going to be too small. I also have this really cool set square, and there's a diamond. but I want round, so let me try this one. Might be a little easier than holding on to the handle on this. And I'm going to do them both at the same time. And I need a circle that is going to hold one of these inside and give me a little extra space. So I'm going to, you always want to start a little bit bigger than you think you want because the wire bounces back. So if I want to make it smaller, it's easier to go up. So I'm just going to come in here and wrap this around. Let's see how that is. That is perfect. Okay. From here, I'm going to separate them, and I'm going to take this wire right where the two are meeting, and just bend it straight up. And so like I said, you just do a better job if you do everything at the same time, do your earrings at the same time. So now I'm going to get a hold of this. Let me turn it this way and just wrap this around. And again, coming to the back. And I don't know why I put my mandrel away, because it's really helpful to, keep putting things back on the shape. That will help keep you in line. Now I could trim this away here, but I'm going to let this hang out for right now because I might want to use it. That, to me, extra wire is an opportunity to maybe do a spiral or some other embellishment when I'm done. But I think I'm going to come around and wrap one more time. Just feel like I want a little more wire presence at the top of my earring. So now I have 3 wraps, and I like my coils really nice and tight. I don't do a lot of messy wraps. I really like my coils really nice and tight. So I love that. And let me get this one to the same point, and I can already see that my circle shape is not exactly as good on this one. So I'm going to go ahead and fix that now. Like I said, I always take my time and fix. Okay, they don't have to be perfect because this is an artisan wire earring, so it does not have to be perfect. A lot of times I will hammer when I'm going to do this because hammering makes things look a little more organic, but I'm just warming and just kind of holding these together. They're pretty good. I mean, they don't have to be exactly perfect. I mean, I'm a little bit of a perfectionist, but I can accept I can accept that it looks like that. I'm going to take a piece of 22 gauge wire, and I'm going to come right down here to the bottom and just wrap this a couple of times around my form, just like maybe 2 times. I've designated this the front of my earring, so I'm going to trim this on the back. It can be a little wobbly. That's okay. It won't be for long. There's a lot of wire going into this design. And I'm going to just tighten up my coils. Okay, I'm going to put my check glass bead on and let it drop down right about there. It's not going to be centered right now, and I'm just going to take this wire and just give a couple of wraps here. Let me get under this, And just give a couple of wraps here right on top of the wraps that I already did. And since I know what the front and the back is, I know I can come around to the back with my 22 gauge wire and snip off in the back. I am just guessing at my length here, which, you know what, I will do. I will go ahead and cut 2 lengths. So when I do my second earring, like I said, when you start with the same length of wire, you stand a pretty good chance of getting your earrings the same. So my second one is ready. Okay. And I'm going to lay this right across my bead in the middle, like fairly in the middle. Doesn't have to be perfect. And I'm going to come up through my circle, come down here a little bit, and I'm going to come up through my circle, maybe. This 26 gauge wire is almost like thread. And I'm going to get the first wraps are not going to be too easy because you really need to hold here with your thumb and forefinger, and you want to smooth your wire as you go. And I'm going to come back around. I'm going to do 2 wraps around. Try not to kink your wire. Like I say, when you start out, there's not a lot that's secure, so the first couple are the most challenging. But use your pliers to help you and scrunch everything together. And then I'm going to direct this around to the back. And I'm going to do the same thing, but I'm going to kind of work in this direction with these wraps. And with my other end of wire, I'm going to be doing the same thing, but I'm going to work in this direction, if that makes sense. So I'm going to come through, and so I'm kind of making a cage is what I'm doing for this check glass bead. So I'm going to come through and pull this tight and do 2 wraps. You could create any pattern you want. I'm just gonna like create a little cage for my bead so the bead is like in jail. And then it's back on the top. So I'm gonna come back to this side. And again, I'm gonna work up on this one and I'm gonna work down on that side. And just pull it tight. 2 wraps. And you could do as much or as little, like if you want to do a much longer piece of wire and get more, more in here, you can. I'm going to go behind and do the same thing right here again. This will be my last one on this side. And I'm going to go ahead, even though I'm not cutting across the front again, I'm going to go ahead and use up this wire a little bit just to add some wraps, just for embellishment. And just kind of chase the wire around the form with my pliers, so just like that. And I'm going to scrunch everything together. And now I'm going to do the same thing with this side. It's laying on top without kinking it. I'm going to do a couple wraps. Holding in the middle with my thumb and forefinger. And if you wanted more, like you could do this in 2 or 3 pieces of the 26 gauge wire. I'll start with this just this little embellishment. And if you kink your wire, you know, just straighten it before you keep going. Okay, that was my second wrap, so I'm going to come around to the back and on this side do my 2 wraps going toward here. I mean, that's the pattern that I came up with for wrapping, but like I said, if you like this idea, you know, you could really do anything you can think of. This will be my second wrap. And it's going to go across the front. Check and see if I want to scrunch anything together. I usually do. And I'm going to just continue like that using up this wire. Okay, so I used up my length of wire and I have my little bead in jail. It's so cute. I really like it. And so now I am going to make a spiral out of what's left here that's going to like kind of go into this negative space. And before I do, I'm just going to like straighten everything. And I'm also going to trim it a little bit. I'm going to make these 2 match so that when I go to do the other earring, I stand a pretty good chance of my spirals being the same length. So I'm just going to just trim this a little bit. Line it up. Just like that. Okay. And so now I'm going to spiral toward my earrings. I'm going to come right here with my round nose pliers and get a tiny loop started. Just a tiny little loop. Close it really well before I start spiraling. And I'm just going to get a hold of it with my chain nose pliers and just in small increments, just scroll it toward my earring against my finger. And I'm just going to press it down on the front of my very cool artisan wire wrapped earring. Now from here you could put a bead on the top, and I thought about doing that because I have some more mermaid glass, but I think that this is really cool just with the earring in a cage. So I'm going to do that the same thing again, is take a hold, like pretend that that's my bead. Same thing again, going to make this into an ear wire. Just bend it forward just slightly. I'm not keeping a bead on, so it doesn't have to be super at a full 45 degree. And this time I'm going to use the largest step on my bail making plier. Just put my earring in there so the front is perfectly straight. And I'm going to just make this really contemporary swooping ear wire with this earring. And I will go ahead and trim this right about there. And then when I finish the other earring, I'll trim it to match and kick that out. So this was my really cool earring making blitz. I hope you got some inspiration or an idea like from what I thought of. I'm going to make this other earring and I'll put some final pictures up so that you can have a really close look of these. I don't know which is my favorite. They're all very different. I think most of them are sort of contemporary, But you know, I really love that. I think it's nice when we make things that are current and relevant and in style. And you know, vintage is great, and I do my share of vintage, but I'm really happy with my little earring making session here. So check the description box. I have always my favorite tools linked there. My favorite current findings are there. So if you see me work with anything that you really like, if I can link it, if it's not one of my found treasures or something, the links are there for you. And you guys, it's really hot outside right now, and we're under heat advisory where I live, and I know so many of you are in the same boat. Please, you guys, take good care of yourselves. I care about all of you, and I hope you're drinking a lot of water and being safe, and you know, maybe stay in the air conditioning and make jewelry. Hugs to you all. Ciao. See you in the next video.